You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Coming up, authorities arrest a man suspected of a recent bank robbery in Joplin.
Blue sky to start, but the clouds are coming, so is the rain. We'll have the latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
Also, we'll meet a paralyzed man who's using his mind to drive a car thanks to a micro pill, and all that and more coming up.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Thanks for joining us for the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. I'm Bronte Sorotsky. Authorities arrest a man suspected of robbing a Joplin bank last week. On May 9th, officers responded to a report of a panic alarm being set off at Great Southern Bank. When they arrived, they learned the bank had been robbed. Authorities identified Vincent Gepson of Anderson, Missouri as the suspect. They say Gepson allegedly entered the bank and demanded money, then fled. Police on Friday announced that Gepson was located in Crowley, Louisiana, and was arrested on a federal warrant for bank robbery. A federal grand jury indicts a Joplin man for the 2020 kidnapping and murder of a woman whose body was found in Mayes County, Oklahoma. Authorities say Trey Ackerson kidnapped Jolene Campbell, murdered her, and conspired with others to tamper with witnesses involved in the murder investigation. He's charged for all of those crimes. Under the indictment, Brianna Sloan, also of Joplin, is also charged with kidnapping and witness tampering. Also involved in this case, Kimberly Grissom, Lane Bronson, and Jacob Schreiber, all of Joplin, are charged with tampering with witnesses in separate incidents. A Jay, Oklahoma man is dead following a crash in Ottawa County. Authorities say 45-year-old Kevin Backward was traveling south on State Highway 125. He went off the road into a ditch. Authorities say the vehicle rolled 2.5 times before coming to a stop on its top. Emergency crews took Backward to a hospital where he was pronounced dead. According to the CDC, drowning is the second leading cause of unintentional injury death for children ages 1 to 14. But here in Southwest Missouri, volunteers are coming together to prevent tragedies on the water. The Show Me Water Safety Day is a product of a wide range of community partners and organizations coming together to provide life-saving tips. On Saturday, kids learned about how to stay safe on and near bodies of water, which is especially timely as the summer season emerges.
We have lakes, rivers, streams, pools, backyard pools, just lots of fun things that kids and adults can enjoy. So all of those can come with a certain level of danger.
To combat that danger, each child took home a free life jacket. Those will be passed out at future trainings as well. If you're interested in attending one of the other free water safety events coming up in June and July, you can check out this story on our website, koamnewsnow.com. Well, the Creative Learning Alliance in downtown Joplin gives young children their first experience in STEM. On Saturday, they taught children how to make paper airplanes. The kiddos were not only able to get creative, but they also learned more about the properties of aerodynamic forces and flight velocity, and helped them gain an interest in the sciences. It's something the Creative Learning Alliance says they strive for.
Kids learn by doing, first of all, so it's important that we let them and give them a place to do. And then secondly, it's important because we want kids to be excited by science. We don't want it to be a drag with just a textbook at school. We want to make it very real and very applicable to just all of the time in their life.
Next month, the Creative Learning Alliance will focus on projects dealing with the ocean. Well, talk about the catch of a lifetime. This is not a fish you see every day. Ethan Evnick of Iowa caught this massive catfish in the Missouri River while in South Dakota. The fish is 51.5 inches long with a girth of 32.5 inches. Weighs a whopping 67 pounds and 8 ounces. Game, Fish, and Parks officials say the fish sets a South Dakota record for a flathead catfish.
My goodness.
I didn't know that was a catfish at first.
Oh, yeah?
It looks like a deep sea creature or something. I mean, I guess, okay, now I can see I guess those are like its whiskers, but like, I've never seen anything like that before.
That is crazy. My goodness.
I mean, it's strong holding it up like that.
Well, that's what I was thinking too. Yeah, it certainly would take some effort to hold it up like that. Well, good for him.
Seriously.
It felt like we were playing National Geographic there. He's from Iowa. He was in the Missouri River in South Dakota.
Yeah.
He's got a record. He now has a record to show for it.
Yeah.
All right, Bronte, here's the live look outside of Television City. We're starting to see a little bit of that light cloud cover grow. Actually, we just need to warm up a little bit. Over 7th and Rangeline in Joplin, we sit at 47 degrees. And yes, we actually still do have a wind chill in effect. Only feels right now like 44. It is a result of the cold front just hanging over us. The rain that you do see on the top left-hand portion of your screen, it will stay up to our northwest. Everything that we are going to get, and we're going to get rain beginning tonight, and it's going to rain for quite some time, but all of ours is going to move in from the southwest out of Oklahoma. So the fact that that's hanging up there to the northwest, that really won't have any bearing on us for the morning. It would be nice if that sunshine would kick in a little bit. 54 is as good as we're seeing right now in Miami and in Grove, 43 in Fort Scott and Iola, 45 in Nevada. We've seen wind chills drop as low as 37 degrees. Sun is trying to kick in a little bit right now. We don't have any 30s out there on the board as far as what it exactly feels like, but yeah, that was something else, waking up pre-sunrise and having that hit you in the face when you walked outside. Weather trend for today, clouds increase, highs only in the mid-60s, so about 15 degrees below normal. And then let's get to the rain, because it's going to move in from the southwest and it's going to be on us and stay on us. Start tonight, take us all the way through Tuesday. Heavy rain with thunder and lightning, and then eventually spinning back to the central and eastern portions, and not giving up until we get into Wednesday. We already have flood watches for the far western part of southeast Kansas, and we can expect those to be expanded as well. Even the possibility of some flash flooding, Bronte.
All right, well, thanks, Michael. Definitely something we'll be
That's
sure to
what
keep an
we'll be
eye
tracking.
on.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you. Well, up next, Ryan Peterson and Matt Daniel from the Economic Security Corporation of Southwest area have some tips for weatherizing your home. And later, area fire officials blame weekend storms for a fire that destroyed a Barry County business. You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. We'll be right back. In Health Watch this morning, why even lower amounts of alcohol may be bad for your heart and the impact of the Omicron variant in New England. Elise Preston has today's top health stories.
The state of Massachusetts took a harder hit from the COVID-19 Omicron variant than from Delta. That's according to a study out of Brigham and Women's Hospital, which found more people in the state died during the 8-week Omicron surge in the winter of 2021, compared to the 23-week period when Delta was the dominant strain. A new study being presented at Digestive Disease Week suggests man's best friend could be your toddlers as well. Researchers found children who grew up with a dog or in a large family seem to have healthier gut bacteria later in life and a lower risk of developing Crohn's disease. And less alcohol may be better for your cardiovascular health. That's according to researchers in Europe who recommend drinking no more than 1 bottle of wine or 3.5 cans of beer per week in order to minimize the risk of potential harm to your heart. Those are some of the day's top health stories. Elise Preston, CBS News, New York.
Boeing Starliner spacecraft docked with the International Space Station for the first time on Friday. It's a major milestone for the spacecraft, which is designed to eventually ferry astronauts to the space station. It launched from Florida Thursday evening on an uncrewed test mission, experiencing numerous hiccups on the way. After launch, 2 thrusters shut off during the maneuver that places the spacecraft into orbit, but its backup systems ensured that didn't affect the overall mission. Docking was also delayed several times as ground crews troubleshot issues. The spacecraft was finally able to dock around 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time.
No pressure. No pressure up there trying to do that.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, not exactly like backing the car into the driveway.
Oh my gosh, yeah, definitely not. No, definitely amazing that there's people who know how to do this type of thing.
That's thank goodness there are people infinitely smarter than me. That is for sure. All right, let's take a live look outside of Television City. We've had just a little light cloud cover develop. It hasn't had any moisture in it as of yet. Daily almanac for today. I want to point out that our average high would be around 80 degrees. That'd be perfectly normal for May the 23rd. We're going to be a far cry from that, probably stop about 20 degrees short of it. And just think about the last week in general when we were talking about challenging record highs seemingly each and every afternoon. As a matter of fact, even was that Thursday of last week when we did set that record high. Current conditions over 7th and Rangeline in Joplin at 47 degrees. We have been talking about the wind chills that are in effect. So right now it only feels like it's 44 out in Joplin. So you can take these true temperatures, knock about just 3 to 4 degrees. It's not a huge difference, but certainly the fact that we were talking about wind chills as low as 37 degrees earlier this morning, that is a big no thank you, but luckily we're beginning to make our way up on the mercury. Here's a wind tracker. It'll be just 5 to 10 miles per hour today. We're not going to have to deal with anything too blustery, and even as our humidity will drop here throughout the morning hours, we're going to stay out of any wind advisories, fire weather watches, anything of that nature. And the reason being, we're just going to anticipate a whole bunch of rain coming in. Flood watches for those counties in that turquoise color stretching from our western edge of southeast Kansas all along the Oklahoma state line and moving west of Wichita all the way to Dodge City. And that's pretty unusual for them to have those. We kind of get used to that, but that's unusual for them to stretch that far west. Skywatch storm tracker for right now, just kind of the clouds that are building up to the north. That's the only thing of note, and the jet stream streaking right through us keeps that precipitation up to our northwest and then kind of splits it down in two with the thunderstorm activity for the early morning hours isolated to the southeastern portion of the United States. But you can also tell on that color contour right there that you have to drop down into really say North Texas, South Arkansas, and the old Arklatex region, as we call it, to find any type of May warmth. Weather trend for today, we'll go mid-60s. Let's talk about why we've got those flood watches, though. Remember those counties out to the west? Watch this get on it tomorrow morning. We're going to have heavy rain along with thunder and lightning as well. As it rolls through, then we start to see counterclockwise movement in it, and that allows it to spin into the central and eastern parts of the 4 states. A pretty long time frame right here. We're talking about, say Wednesday morning before this thing wants to give up. We will finally begin a warm up after the rain is done, but really our number one threat is going to be the possibility of picking up some flash flooding for tomorrow, and then it's just going to be flooding in general, and seeing as how this wants to drop about, say, 1.5 to 2 inches of rain by the time we are done with it on Wednesday. So with that being said, why don't we come back and talk about the importance of weatherization, because it's cold today and it's going to be warm by the end of the week. Be back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 with Matt Daniel and Ryan Peterson in the studio right after this. Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Fortunate enough to have Matt Daniel and Ryan Peterson back in the studio with us from the Economic Security Corporation, because we're talking about weatherization. And the Economic Security Corporation has come up with a marvelous checklist that if we follow these steps, it's so easy to do, and in the long run, it saves us money on our utility bills. But Ryan, before we jump into that, as far as the Economic Security Corporation goes, it's an organization that we hear so much about. People may not know your mission, though.
Our mission is to help low-income people get out of poverty. So we have a lot of programs that help with that in various ways. Our program, the weatherization program, is to reduce energy bills. So that hopefully would free up some other money for them to be able to do other things with. And
also, too, and another thing that we were stressing here, this is all about getting the word out, because the Economic Security Corporation has so much knowledge and just wonderful things. We just need to have people acknowledge that and utilize it. Matt, earlier we were actually talking about staying warm, because we've got the wind chill in effect, but certainly here in the next couple of weeks, we're going to be worried about keeping the house cool. Now, you brought us some great tips earlier about making sure that there's not a lamp near a thermostat, making sure that our air conditioning unit is cleaned out. When you compile these tips, though, what are some of the most frequent ones that people miss?
I think just keeping some different clutter type things away from the registers, because that one could make your unit not run efficiently, and two, it could run your unit and you're going to have to replace it. So just making sure that there's nothing around the vents, letting the air get around the house.
Okay, now when you talk about clutter, so it could be something as simple as maybe we need to like move a table or something
Absolutely,
like that.
yeah, a box, anything.
When you venture into somebody's house, what are some of the most common questions that people have for you?
You know, what temperature should I keep my thermostat on? You know, we try to tell people, you know, in the wintertime you want to keep it as low as possible, but we know you want to be as comfortable as possible. So maybe just a degree or two will greatly help. And same thing in the summertime, if you want to just bump it up a degree or two, that's going to help save some.
That's probably somebody asking Matt a weather question. Right there. So weatherization question coming in right there. That's how we roll on the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Ryan, when people go through this checklist, and like I said, folks, this is it's a wonderful, extensive checklist, but it's so easy to use at the same point in time. But I think by the time everybody gets to the last page, they go, "What's the bottom line, man? How much do you think people can save if they use these tips?"
Well, it's hard to say on those exact tips, but if they use our program.
Yeah, let's use that. Let's use the program as a whole.
That one's a little easier, so they can save up to $437 a year, depending on the measures that we can do to their house. But, you know, that's a significant savings year after year for them to be able to have that money to spend on other things.
How did you get involved with the weatherization program through the Economic Security Corporation? Because, like I said, it seems simplistic, yet these are things we don't think about.
Right. So I have a construction background, but I also wanted to help people, and so that led me into economic security. And all these measures that we talk about when we do them, they have to be cost effective. So every dollar that we spend, that measure has to save the client that much money over the life of the measure. So we're not just going in there willy-nilly putting in stuff.
Right.
Everything's run through a computer program that shows us what is cost effective.
What would you say, as far as your background and the experience that you've had out there, if I had to put you on the spot and say, Ryan, give me two things that you think are the most effective when it comes to cost cutting in utilities?
Stopping air leaks, so around windows, doors, you know, so you can use caulking, spray foam, weather stripping, plastic, you know, whatever you have at your disposal. So stopping those, and then like Matt said, lowering your thermostat in the winter, and maybe bundling up a little bit more, you know, putting on a jacket. And then in the summer,
bump
it
up a degree or two.
Correct.
Before I get you out of here, number one, I want to thank you for your time. But number two, now that we've convinced people that this is important and that they're going to save money in the long run, how do we get in touch with you, and where do we find these helpful tips?
So you can just call us, 417-781-4437. We can mail you the tips. We can email the tips. We can get you on our website, show you how to get there. We'll help you through the whole process.
In other words, if you will make the concerted effort to get in touch with Ryan and Matt, they are going to bend over backwards to help you. The most important thing is reaching out to them and setting up first point of contact.
Yes, sir.
Ryan and Matt, I want to thank you so much for your time. And once again, thank you for everything that the Economic Security Corporation does to help us all save a little money on the backside.
Thank you.
We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this.
It's time to honor today's four-state hero, Casey Thompson. Private First Class Thompson served in the Army in 2008. He served in the 82nd Airborne Unit in Camp Loyalty, Iraq. He graduated from Fort Leonard Wood with military police and then went on to Fort Benning, Georgia for airborne training. His hometown is Pittsburgh, Kansas. We thank you, today's four-state hero, Casey Thompson. Well, a paralyzed man in Colorado is using his brain to drive. It's not like how other people think about when they're going to turn or stop. A microchip in his brain actually steers the car. Connor McHugh has this look at the technology in action.
At Pikes Peak International Raceway, high speeds and hard turns are nothing out of the ordinary. Neither are the skills and intense focus required to make it out unscathed.
It's an amazing experience.
This week, German Aldana Zuniga made it all look effortless, despite not touching the throttle a single time.
Since my accident, I don't have no mobility below my waist, so This is my first time driving a car, yeah.
9 years after that life-altering car wreck, Zuniga is using his thoughts to drive. It's a technological breakthrough pioneered by a team led by Colorado neurosurgeon Dr. Scott Fauci.
We're really proud of what he's done.
For more than a year, the group has worked so Zuniga can communicate between a microchip on his brain and a computer in the car.
The computer can pick that up, that particular electronic fingerprint, and feed that to the race car.
Zuniga can now use his mind to move the car and this specialized helmet to steer it, a task once unthinkable, now possible with focus and practice.
To be in it and just watch how you go through a track smoothly and it responds to what you think. It's just incredible.
So too are the possibilities for this technology later on.
We can use this potentially for driving an electric wheelchair, a golf cart, control a robotic arm. Once we develop that science can be used for all types of systems.
It's a finish line Zuniga can't wait to help cross.
Technology is advancing, so we gotta help put our part in it and make it become available for everyone.
Another half hour of news and weather just ahead. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. The Foundation for Blind Children kicks off their summer break with a special graduation. And Applebee's says their workers are too busy to take calls. They've got a solution. You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. We'll be right back.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. It's currently 7:30. Let's take a look at today's top stories. Storms may have caused the destruction of a Barry County business. Just after 2 on Saturday morning, emergency responders were called to the K Cabinet shop near Highway 76 and Highway 39. A total of 5 fire agencies responded to the blaze. Firefighters say when they arrived, the building was 50% collapsed with fire throughout. The building and business are a total loss. Fire officials believe the fast-spreading fire that was caused by a lightning strike. The Missouri State Fire Marshal is assisting with the investigation. A tragic news coming out of Webb City, Missouri. The Webb City Police Department has released a statement regarding an unattended death of a student. Authorities say the death happened on the Webb City campus and there are no signs of foul play after an autopsy report. Officials have said, quote, "This is a tragedy that no family should ever have to endure. This child was the son, brother, nephew, and grandson that was loved by many friends. With utmost respect for and approval from the family, we decided not to publicize the investigation. In the end, we want to give the family the factual truth of what happened to their child." On Saturday, the Webb City community comes together to mourn the loss of a student. The young man passed away earlier this month. Community members held a candlelight vigil at King Jack Park in his honor. They stood in silence as they remembered the young man. Central Christian Church kicked off the summer by having church service outside. This is the church's annual kickoff to summer. They have fellowship, worship, and of course, food. Hot dogs, hamburgers, drinks, and desserts were offered after Pastor Hank's message. This service was held for the church members and the community.
People from the community come out, but it just seems like a good day or a good time of the year to just, like you said, kick off summer and get all together and just be in the outdoors, and something about connecting in the outdoors.
This is the 4th year Central Christian Church has kicked off summer with their church in the park. Well, Arma got a little taste of history. French cookie lovers gathered to see demonstrations of this beloved treat made by iron molds. French cookie makers were so important that immigrants carried them to the United States. Community members shared some of their own family recipes and traditions. Then, of course, at the end, they had a chance to taste these yummy French cookies.
Food is a great tradition for generation to generation to generation. It's great to keep that part alive. So I did this presentation today just to remember that French cookies, the tradition that they have for us, the tradition we have of making the cookie iron in Arma.
French cookies irons were immigrated and replicated to keep the tradition alive. Whether you have a green thumb or not, you may appreciate some of the fancy plants making their way into the Joplin greenhouse. The rare plant shelf is something that spawned out of the pandemic last fall. It's been steadily growing ever since. While these items do cost more, customers are willing to pay, some selling out in a matter of hours, even with a $300 price tag. These plants, like the pink princess philodendron, come from a distributor in Florida. The greenhouse makes cuttings, and those turn into a unique product this business is happy to provide.
Being able to offer this selection in Missouri, in Joplin specifically, is a pretty big step. Like, you're not going to be able to get this stuff at Home Depot or Lowe's or like any of the other local garden centers, so I think it makes us pretty unique.
The Joplin greenhouse has aspirations to eventually sell these rare plants online and offer delivery. Grace's Faithful Creations hosted a paint party at a farm to market on Sunday. Women gathered to paint 3D lemon signs. Grace guided and gave tips on how to paint these signs. You can also have kits mailed to you.
I like to be able to share and teach other people. To me, painting is something that is forgivable. You can't mess it up, and it's relaxing. So I like to share that with other people, and I'm just blessed that God gave me this talent to be able to do that.
If you want to find out more about Grace's Faithful Creations, you can go to our website, KOAMnewsnow.com. Well, what's considered by many collectors to be the holy grail of comic books is on the auction block. A rare 1939 Detective Comics issue that introduces Batman for the first time could approach $1.5 million. That would match a record set in 2020 for the issue, of which only 40 are known to be in existence. Batman makes his first ever appearance in print in a story called The Case of the Chemical Syndicate. The Dark Knight, who ushered in a whole new era of superheroes, can also be seen swinging on the comic's cover. The auction by Golden of the comic, which originally sold for a dime, officially wrapped up at 10 p.m. Eastern on Saturday.
I was going to point, I'm glad that was in the script, I was going to point that out, the first thing I noticed was that, yeah, that cost you 10 cents back in the day.
And now, its value has definitely grown since.
Oh, you could be sitting pretty, I guess, if you had a copy of one of those.
Wow, that says 1939.
May have 1939. All right, Bronte, here's a live look outside of Television City. No Cape Crusaders for us this morning, swinging by. 47 degrees. It's too cold for the Cape Crusaders to be out, that is for sure. My goodness, we were talking about temperatures that were in the 70s pre-sunrise last week. Now we've got wind chills that have dropped as low as 39. Give you an idea of the Skywatch Storm Tracker. We're going to stay dry for the time being. That will change this evening. So after we get up into the say mid-60s with growing cloud cover today. Then the rain begins, and as it comes in, especially for the western side of southeast Kansas, where we have flood watches already popping up, we're going to have heavy rain to go along with some thunder and lightning. Look at that time frame, too. It's not going to slow down on Tuesday, anywhere from 1.5 inches to 2 inches of rain as we go all the way from Tuesday night into Wednesday morning with our precipitation. We do begin to warm up after that. Kind of kick the rain to the side there by the time we get to Thursday, and then reemerge on the backside of the work week up into the 80s. Be back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this. This morning on the KOAM News Now Insta poll and our Facebook page, talking about getting ready for summertime. These young boys and girls that you see right here, they are graduates of the Foundation for the Blind, and that's them receiving their certificates, well-deserved praise, and getting ready for kindergarten next year. Foundation's goal is to help prepare the kids, not just academically, but also honing their mobility and orientation skills, so they're ready to go tackle that big world out there. But, of course, before they get there, they get to enjoy summer vacation. So our question specifically for you this morning is, what's your family doing this summer? Right now, we've got 30% of you that are saying, yeah, you're going to take a vacation, so it's nice to get out of the old pandemic and lockdown phase. 44% say, yeah, right here in the 4 states, we've got plenty of local sites. And then we got about 10 to 6% saying either swimming, camping, or maybe it's a little bit of all of the above. Appreciate your engagement each and every morning. KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. That'll take you right to the poll. You can also connect to us via our Facebook page at KOAM News Now. A nice feel-good story here. A woman receiving her bachelor's degree after waiting 6 decades for it. Waverly Monroe with more on the feel-good story.
Madeline Adams has been waiting roughly 6 decades for this moment.
Madeline Elizabeth Adams.
The 80-year-old first started at UNO when the mascot was still the Indians back in 1960.
Well, life happened, okay? Expecting, married, second child, third child, divorce, moved out of state.
Adams would move to Missouri and then work real estate for 15 years before ending up in Honolulu and then Arizona before settling with her daughter, Robin Wright.
The daughter who lives in Texas, she's here today. She begged me to come visit her.
And while getting her mother moved in, Wright noticed something.
I noticed that she had 40 credits from UNO. And I said, Mom, why don't you just finish?
Adams enrolled and did online classes, crediting her daughter for pushing her across the finish line.
She's the wind beneath my wings. She really is.
Right.
And she's my biggest cheerleader.
Though Wright would tell you her mom's flying fine on her own.
And she would always just kind of jokingly say we were the smart ones. But I was like, Mom, you made us. You're the one who taught us.
Wright calls her an inspiration.
Because I didn't realize the whole thing was that, that they were 19 when they had all, 22 by the time they had all three of us. And she really dropped out to work for us.
Adams says she's finally putting a period on her education career.
I always taught my children, don't start anything you can't finish. So I had to be the example, right?
Adams plans to take her degree and use it for her volunteer work.
I love that. All right, we'll be back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 and some consumer news right after this.
Applebee's says their workers are often too busy to take those calls, so they are outsourcing them to call centers. The casual dining restaurant chain is already using call centers for phone orders at roughly half of its nearly 1,600 locations. By the end of 2022, Applebee's wants most of its locations on board with outsourcing their takeout calls. Applebee's executives say the call centers often provide a better experience for customers, since the person who answers isn't also waiting tables or preparing meals. But they say it is still possible to call your local restaurant for directions or to find out if it's busy. Well, as more people head back to the office, fast food chains are ramping up breakfast promotions. Restaurant analysts say breakfast is the most profitable time of day for restaurants. But while breakfast sales have bounced back, they have not yet reached pre-pandemic levels. That's why chains like McDonald's and Wendy's are now offering deals and discounts on breakfast menus and great reward programs through apps. And the second largest manufacturer of baby formula sold in the U.S. says it has increased its production by 35%. Reckitt, the maker of popular brands such as Enfamil and Nutramigen, have been scrambling to help address the shortage of infant formula. The company says the effort started at the time of the recall of its competitor Abbott's products in February. To meet the demand, Reckitt has given its manufacturing employees unlimited overtime. The British company also credits the U.S. government with helping secure the necessary ingredients to manufacture more formula. Reckitt is also filing paperwork to allow it to be able to import formula from its manufacturing plants in Singapore and Mexico. We'll be right back with more after this, but first, let's take a look at the market prices before the opening bell.
A pet cat by the name of Pokey Blue is now back at home after being trapped for more than 5 days up a tree. Cat's rescue, all thanks to some thoughtful and determined kids. Sam Reed with the story.
A few Fridays ago, 12-year-old Tyler Arnold and his brother Caleb of Coventry went for a walk in their backyard when they noticed something out of the ordinary in a towering tree.
I noticed the cat in the tree. I didn't know it was the cat at the time.
After looking a little closer,
it was like 50 feet in the air.
They came to the conclusion it was a cat clinging for dear life on the tip of a tree branch.
I'm really surprised that the cat did not fall out of the tree. It was that gusty, cold, before this beautiful weather.
The boys didn't want the cat to die.
It was just up there. It didn't have any food, no water.
As it continued to climb higher.
Every time we went over to the cat, it would meow and it would look at us.
It was like asking for help.
One night in the tree eventually led to 4 more.
They were begging me to find somebody to take the cat out of the tree every day, multiple times a day.
And after countless phone calls to the town, state, and service companies, the Arnold family was about to forfeit on day 5.
Animal control didn't have certified climbers. The fire department said that getting their trucks out here, we live rurally, that they were afraid that the trucks would actually sink into the ground. It was a liability.
Fortunately, a final phone call was made to American Tree Service, Inc.
I wanted to help, and I said, I'm going to be here first thing in the morning with my crew, and we're going to do what we can to help you.
Owner Bob Frattantuno and his employees, Jeremy and Don, didn't hesitate to help.
We love animals, you know? Yeah. They're my neighbors. I'm only 5-10 minutes away. It's just good to help the community.
They went up in a bucket truck and corralled the cat to safety.
It looked really scared. I moved as slowly as I could to it, and you can kind of, at the last second, it started just coming toward me a little bit. So that's when I just reached out and grabbed it.
Bob realized the feline was friendly and assumed it had actually been someone's pet.
And when he went missing, I was stressing out. I was like, oh my God, what could have happened?
And just a mile away, Destiny Charette had been looking everywhere for 2-year-old Pokey Blue.
You are a parent, and how you feel about kids, that's how I feel about my cat.
Animal Control reunited the pair.
I was so happy.
Bob, his crew, and the brothers are beyond hopeful the cat can continue to live its 9 lives.
We are relieved that the cat is okay and with its owner.
I can't believe somebody so kind would do that at all. I mean, I would, but there's not many of us.
Now, in an effort to hopefully make sure it doesn't happen again, Pokey Blue is wearing a tracking tag and a harness. Family says they're going to keep a closer eye on him. Live look outside of Television City, little bit of cloud cover beginning to grow out there to the west. Haven't warmed up, that's for sure. 47 degrees is where we stand. And the wind chill still kicking in, only feels like it's 44. As a matter of fact, temperatures really haven't gone anywhere even after sunrise. We do see 54 in Anderson and 53 in Miami and Grove, but earlier this morning we had wind chills that were as low as 37 degrees. Here's a look at our wind tracker as it does come in from the northeast, but just 5 to 10 miles per hour. So we don't have to worry about any wind advisories. However, we do have some watches, warnings, and advisories in effect. Those are flood watches for the counties in turquoise, western edge of southeast Kansas, all the way until Wednesday morning. Now, currently we don't have any rain to worry about. That'll stay up to the northwest for the morning hours, but we'll pay attention to what begins to originate out of Oklahoma. That's the Gulf moisture that's going to head our way and bring us rain for tonight all the way through the middle of the week. I tell you what, it's going to pile up here pretty quick. Once we get started, you'll notice those counties that were in the turquoise there. That's going to be really for tonight into tomorrow morning. Look at that. That's some heavy rain, thunder and lightning coming down. Then we get the counterclockwise motion that transitions it into the central and eastern parts of the 4 states, lasting until Wednesday. Now, we'll have a little bit of a warm up here by the end of the week, but really don't even see temperatures that we consider average for late May until we get to Friday. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this.
Indigo. Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Here's what's happening today. Some relief for parents searching for baby formula arrived on a U.S. military plane Sunday. Pallets of specialized allergy-friendly formula were airlifted from Germany to Indiana. It was the first flight of Operation Fly Formula as Washington tries to ease a nationwide shortage. A second transport to Pennsylvania is expected in the coming days. President Biden is in Tokyo as he continues his diplomatic visit to Asia. The White House wants to strengthen Pacific alliances as China's influence in the region expands. It's Mr. Biden's first trip to Asia as president. Police are searching for a gunman after a man was shot and killed on a New York City subway train. Police say the suspect and victim had no contact before the deadly attack. It follows last month's mass shooting on a Brooklyn subway that injured dozens of passengers.
Gonna roll through some rain. That's what we're waiting on today. Remember, it's still gonna be chilly outside, only mid-60s today. And then once we get started tonight, it is going to be umbrella time all through the middle of the week. We're looking at 1.5 to 2 inches of rain that we're going to pick up here. Remember, flood watch is already existing on the far western edge of southeast Kansas, and really no warm-up in sight until we get to the end of the week.
Well, a Kentucky zoo is celebrating a new addition to its animal family. Meet the Louisville Zoo's newest female zebra fowl. Her mother, a 6-year-old Hartman's mountain zebra, gave birth last week. She weighed 71 pounds and was deemed strong and healthy. The zoo says mom and the foal are both well. As you can see, the baby zebra is already up and running, and the zoo has not yet given her a name.
Yeah, so much for a newborn, huh? Oh, get up and get going. My goodness. All right, thank you so much for letting us put the good in your morning. We'll be back with more news and weather when we see you at noon.
Have a great morning and an even better day.